Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Well, okay, once again, to return to Google. Last week, I guess it was, Google rolled out the first of its plugins, what it calls extensions for Bard. It announced them at Google I/O, the developer conference, and they rolled out a bunch of extensions, which are content applications, tools that now become part of Bard's results. They promised a bunch of third-party tools like Kayak and OpenTable and several others, a bunch of others actually. And what they initially rolled out, which makes a certain amount of sense, is Google specific tools. So Google Flights, Hotels, Maps, Workspace, and YouTube, meaning that once you do a query on Bard, you'll get results that encompass those other sources. And I think this is, and ChatGPT has plugins, sort of a similar kind of approach. Although I don't know whether they've suspended them or what precisely. I'm not able to access any of those today.
It's a complicated setup.
I was before. I did before, really? And maybe I'm just, the settings are wrong. But what's fascinating to me, whether it's ChatGPT or Bard, is that if you have enough of these in enough domains, you've got the ability to construct, and you can choose them. You can turn them on and off, which is what Google has set up. They allow you to turn individual applications on and off. You can build a custom search engine, which to me is really a fascinating possibility. You can build a custom search engine which would allow you, for example, to do travel planning using only selected tools. So Kayak, Expedia, Google Flights, Google Hotels, hotels.com, and get results that are structured and more or less vetted, and free of all the spam and the noise that you get if you're just doing a traditional Google search. And I think that this has really opened the door to some fascinating possibilities, which we don't know if they're going to develop. But this is I was saying in the green room that this was sort of a version of what Siri wanted to build before Apple bought it. It wanted to bypass Google entirely and connect directly to vertical sources and search engines and tools that would give you an answer based on your query or your prompt from those sources. And so you didn't need to go through Google, or Google didn't have to be a gatekeeper in that situation. So I think it's really a fascinating development. We'll see what happens with it.
It speaks to how they're planning on Bard being used, which is integrated into their productivity apps, which I think is interesting because it's essentially extending all of their search knowledge into docs and sheets and slides and mail and all those places. And it does well at these sort of combined queries. Like I tested it. I went to Isla Mujeres last week and I tested it and I said, what are the best flights? What are the best hotels? What are the best restaurants? What should I be doing in a query? And it then developed an answer to that. And to some extent, this is how you keep some of the lying out of AI, is by giving it a structured knowledge graph to look at from which to extract its answers. Although still 1% of all the content is might contain fake reviews. You're on mute, Greg. You know that, right? And David, you're on mute.
I do, because I had somebody come to my door and my dog went berserk. So I was trying to mitigate that.
Well, you did a good job.
A relatively good job, but not entirely.
Better than my coughing spasm.
Yes, well, we're human beings. That's what this reveals. You get the unvarnished reality of our life experience here. I mean, I think there are a lot of other things to say. I mean, one of the things to talk about in the future is ChatGPT's integration of voice, human sounding voices, and the ability to interact in a very conversational way with the mobile app, at least. I think that's also a really fascinating development that puts a certain amount of pressure on Bard. I mean, what ChatGPT is trying to do is very similar to what Google Assistant promised to be but never became. So I think that's also really fascinating. There's definitely a lot going on, and I think that even though Google seems to have kind of blunted the threat from these chatbots or these chat tools in the short term, I think in the long term it hasn't entirely eliminated them.
It does seem to me that Bard strategy makes more sense than SGE, which seems to me a hot mess. SGE like comes and goes from local. It's got all these crazy carousels and in local. It just doesn't seem like a very workable solution, and one wonders exactly what role it has long haul in this context. I mean, we know they're using AI to inform results now. I mean, do they really need SGE? Does it make the results any better? And will it stay?
Well, I mean, we're sort of going over a little bit, but it was a product designed to answer, Bing, basically, I think. And it was a way to integrate this capability into traditional search results display. And so I think that they created because they felt compelled to, and they still don't really know exactly what to do with it, I think. So anyway, all right. On that note, that note of uncertainty or anticipation, we will end another triumphant discussion of search, social, and commerce at the Near Memo. Tell your friends, spread the word, and we appreciate your attention and your feedback.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.